So the recommendation that I've got for starting any Python project is to use pyenv. So if you don't use pyenv for managing your Python versions or the Windows equivalent, pyenv-win, strongly recommend you do so. It lets you do things like pyenv install -list, which shows you all the different Python versions you can install in your computer, and it will install them for you. You don't have to use the installer. You don't have to mess around with paths, etc. You can see there's quite a lot of them. But the one that we're interested in is the one I've already got installed, which is 3.12.3. It's actually up to 3.12.5 now. Look at that. So pyenv local 3.12. And that creates a .python version file in your current folder that says 3.12, and that's all it does. Now when you do pyenv exec, you can run a command, and appended to the path variable in this command is the Python 3.12 install. So when we do pyenv exec python-v, for example, that gives us 3.12.2. Whereas if we just do python-v, it actually doesn't even work because I don't have Python in my path anymore. I only go through pyenv. So we'll do pyenv exec python-m to run a Python module, venv.vm. And that's going to create a virtual environment for our project. And then we simply do source venv bin activate to activate the virtual environment. You can see here on the right. And then pip install Django. And that's everything that we need for this project. We just need Django. So when you install Django, you also get the Django-admin command line tool. So Django-admin is the Django admin tool that lets us do start app. Sorry, start project, not start app. Start app comes later. Start project, and then we give it a name. Recipe share is what we're going to go for. And then where we want to create the project, which is in the current folder. So we do dot for the current folder. And that creates two things in our current folder. It creates manage.py, which is the command line tool for executing a lot of different Django things, like starting the Django server or various other things. And we've got the recipe share folder where we've got a couple of things. The main one being settings.py. Settings.py is worth reading through because it defines how your Django app is going to work. And a couple important things is the installed apps that defines the different parts of Django that you've got enabled in your project. And there's also some template definitions and database definition. We're using SQLite by default. You can define password validation. So when you register new users, the password has to match certain validators such as BM minimum length, etc. There's quite a few things in here. And in our Django course, we go into a lot of detail into all the different things you can do here, but it does take a while, so we're not going to change much. The next thing that's also quite important is the urls.py. This defines the different paths in your application that a user may request and what Python view or what Python function is going to run in response or to generate the response to the user. And we also see some squiggly lines here, Command-Shift-P to select the interpreter, and then we're going to select our virtual environment to make those go away. So as you can see, we've got a URL pattern for the admin panel. We're going to look at the admin panel shortly. But you can see in the settings that we have various installed apps, such as the admin panel or authentication, which handles user authentication for us, etc. And that is a key part of Django. We've got the Django project, which is the recipe share folder and the manage.py, this whole thing that we've got here going on right now. And we've also got Django apps. And a Django project is made up of Django apps. So the admin panel app, for example, defines all the views and templates that are required to launch the admin panel that you'll see in a moment. But if we want to create our own web interface, we need to create our own Django app. And in order to do that, we'll say Python manage.py. And now when we run Python, which earlier didn't work, now, of course, because we've got the virtual environment activated, this does run the Python that's in the virtual environment. So we'll do Python manage.py start app, and then you can call your app whatever you want. I'm going to call it app, but web is also a common name if you want to use web. We're going to use app. And that has created another folder in our application. And now we're going to start getting confused, by the way, between Django project, which is this stuff here, Django application, which might be the whole thing, Django app, which is this app here. I'll try to keep track of the names that I'm using for things. But anyway, this is the Django app that's just been created with this command. And this has a few different things. You can see it has migrations, a folder there for database migrations. So if you want your application to modify the database in any way, then the modifications that you make to the database will be stored in this migrations folder. You've got models. A model is essentially a database table, and a model is a class. So the class defines what the database table is like, or what columns are in it, and so forth. And when you instantiate a class and you create an object, that represents a row in the database table. We're going to create some models in a moment. You've got views, and here go the way that you're going to respond to user requests. A couple other things that we have in the app is the admin.py, which is used to register the models that we'll create in this app with the admin panel. So they'll be modifiable in the admin panel. I'll show you what that looks like. We've got apps.py that defines some app metadata. We will need this to register the app with the main projects to make sure that the project uses this app. Just as we have the admin, the auth, etc., we have to register our own app. We can do it just now. In fact, this is app. Just like that. That's it registered. So there wasn't much to do. You've got tests. If you want to write any tests for your app specifically, you can do that here. And that's it.